Hello everyone. Welcome to our week 2 for 21st century class. Today we're going to learn what is or how learning should be. Hello everyone. Today or this week is week 2 for our 21st century class. For this week, we're going to learn how learning should be. But before we proceed to that lesson, let me first give you a recap or a review of what transpired last week. Last week, we talked about the future of the workplace. We've said that wherever we go nowadays, we usually see technology, the presence of technology, like seeing smartphones, looking at automated machines, like for example, when you order in a restaurant or maybe when you do a bus reservation, technology is there. So, how does the work in the future looks like? And the question is, who does the work in the future workplace? So automation has been changing the way we work. Everything is automated, just like what I've mentioned. When you want to get money, you go to an ATM. When you want to buy food from a fast food, usually you approach a machine that will help you do your ordering by yourself. Or like I've said, when we buy a bus ticket, it's automated. Okay, so automation has been changing the way we work. Future workforce will comprise robots and digital workers. We have seen during our discussion last time from the slides that I have shown you that robots and digital workers are replacing people. So you see robot in the airport, you see robot in the restaurants, you see probably robots in the hospital, and you see that whenever you need to check in, like for example in the airport, you need not to go to a check-in counter, but you can just simply approach a check-in kiosk. Okay? So who does the work in the future workplace? We're sharing our work with robots and other digital workers. Nowadays, we also have seen that meetings need not to be face to face, but meetings are usually done through virtual meetings. So before, one reason of a person to go to a certain destination, like for example, if they have a company plant in there, would be to attend to a meeting. But because of the situation that we have at the moment, then most of the companies, whether it's manufacturing, service oriented companies, would usually do virtual meetings. And if you remember, I've told you also that 75 million jobs may be displaced by the shift in the division of labor between humans and machines. Managers, companies found out that machines are a lot more productive and are not complaining like people. So most of the work now are usually shared with robots, and so the the work can be divided between the robots and the people. Okay, so our office can also be empty when the future comes because working from home is getting more popular. Firms are moving towards having one smaller central office and more flexible workers. So meaning to say, nowadays people need not to have a desk or a physical space to work, but anybody can work from anywhere. And one thing that highlighted the discussion last week is the workplace diversity, wherein nowadays you will not be able to find a workplace wherein it's made up of a homogeneous race, meaning to say, um, companies nowadays are usually heterogeneous, made up of people from different races, from different genders, from different ethnicity, coming from different parts of the world. And so, there is a challenge that we need to meet. And that challenge would be how to blend in that workplace wherein diversity is present. So we said that before we can communicate with people, we have to have the confidence to talk to these people, the confidence to be ourselves. And also, we need to learn how to communicate. And when we say communication, there are so many means of communicating. It can be communicating face to face, it can be communicating through email or through phone calls. Regardless of the way of communicating, we really have to know how to transfer or how to transmute our message. And also, another thing needed by the workforce in the 21st century workplace would be a collaboration skill. How do we collaborate? How do we work with teams? How do we blend in such a way that we don't see people in our workplace as competitors? Nowadays, competition is not a thing anymore. But what is being practiced and embraced in most workplaces is collaboration. So, do we know or do I know how to collaborate? If not, then I should learn how to collaborate for me to have the advantage of enjoying the workplace. Another thing that challenges us is the intercultural competence. Intercultural competence means how do you deal with people from other country? How do you deal with people who has a different age than you? Probably older. Younger, it's easier, right? But older and has a position and more experience than you are people who are hard to deal with. Okay, not hard to deal with, but challenging in a way that you have to know how to approach them. You have to know the proper way of communicating with them. And not only communication, but how do you blend in? How do you work as a team in that workplace? That's why teamwork skills is also important. We also have talked about the need for knowledge worker last time. We said that the knowledge worker word was first coined by Peter Drucker in his book, The Landmarks of Tomorrow. So Drucker defined knowledge workers as high-level workers who apply theoretical and analytical knowledge acquired through formal training to develop products and services. And according to the book, he said that the most valuable asset of the 21st century organization are the knowledge workers because of their high level of productivity and creativity. Now, I'd like to throw that question to you. Can you be a knowledge worker? Are you someone who will, you know, qualify as a knowledge worker? So nowadays, we need not only to have the diploma or a high GPA in order for us to land a good paying job. We need more than the diploma. We need more than the GPA. We need more than the TOEIC score. So, what are those things that we need? For the 21st century learning skills, we need to know digital literacy skills and also not only knowing but acquiring the skills, learning and innovation skills, and career life skills. That's why I said that this lesson or that this course is very important for the fact that we need to prepare ourselves so that we know how to get ready in the 21st century workplace. We need to invest on ourselves. We need to know what do we have, what we don't have, so that we can strengthen our opportunity to find our dream job, to find the work that you would like to do. Okay? So much for the future of the workplace. The future of the workplace is very challenging. It's very promising also to people who are knowledge professionals because they can get paid well provided that they fit into the job description and qualification of a knowledge worker. Okay, so since we've said that we have to prepare ourselves, and then aside from that, the only way to prepare ourselves would be to learn. Okay, to learn. Now, here on this lesson, we will see how learning should be. How do we learn? Okay, I know for a fact that most of the people who really wanted to succeed in life would not just rely on the lessons uh, in the university, but more so would be to consider teaching themselves, like for example, researching for how best they can improve themselves, or probably looking for ways to, develop your skill. Like I have a student before, I think 2 years ago, and she's very determined to become a flight attendant. She is continuously practicing her communication skills so that she can qualify. And she's not confident about her communication skills. But what she did aside from that would be to take a part time job so that she can have money to pay for a flight attendant course. Now, probably you're wondering what happened to that lady or to that student that I have 2 years ago. Now she's with China Airlines. And so it's interesting to know that we have to really figure out how should we learn, because knowing how we learn would mean equipping ourselves with something that that we have to have in order for us to learn the most out of the things that we will be learning. Okay? So, how learning should be. That's the title of our week 2 lesson for 21st century. Okay. So, let's start by looking at the world of work. The world of work is increasingly made of teams working together to solve problems and create something new. I think I have mentioned to you the word teamwork a while ago. I have mentioned to you collaboration. I have mentioned to you uh, working together. So nowadays, people don't do the work alone. But most often, for them to be productive, they do the work together with other members of the other members of the team, or probably other members of that unit. So the world of work is not reliant on people who can work alone, but there is a changing landscape in terms of how people work in the company. So, how do people work? They work together. If you see on this picture, these are different hands representing people from different races, people from different backgrounds, educational background or work backgrounds. And what they do is they try to look at this one. They try to fill in the gap, they try to solve the problem. So, whatever problem, whatever issue they have, they try to look at it and create something new. Now, a very good example of this world of work, okay, that can be happening now is if you see the scientists, the doctors, the medical technologists, maybe the nurses, or the different professionals in the field of medicine and pharmacology are working together to find something that will cure this virus. They're trying to discover a vaccine. So, this is how the work should be done. But let's look at the classroom, how things are done, because the classroom is actually a laboratory. It should be a laboratory for us to learn things, for us to practice what we will be doing once we leave the university. So, in the classroom, students mostly work alone. And usually, you compete with others. Why? Because you want to get the A, you want to get the professor's approval. Why is this happening? Why can we not as a classroom, or as a class, I would say, work together and come up with something that all of us will benefit? That's why I have one class and I said I cannot provide you with the reference material, and then one of the techie student was able to download or to find a file, the whole textbook, and he asked me, Professor, can I share it with the other students? And I said, yes, please do if you want, because of course nowadays we don't compete, but instead of competing, we collaborate. Whatever resources we have, we share it with other people. Whatever information we know, we share it with other people. Whatever experiences we've had, share it with other people so that people can learn. People can learn from your experiences, people can learn from your stories, and that's how learning should be. Okay? So, working together means success. Okay. Another issue that we have, technology is more a part of people's lives, especially students each day. I told you, or we talked about, what's the future of work? Technology is there. So, if we look at everyday living, our everyday living, uh, we have different roles to perform. I am working, I am a professor. There are people who works like selling something. There are people who work like by helping in the operations. Then we have students, regardless of the kind of work that they have. They always have the access to technology. I think I can 100% say that you will never find someone here in Korea without a phone, right? I say phone because some people have the smartphone, other people just have the ordinary phone wherein they can just call or send message. So technology is there, whether you're at home, or if I may ask you, how many gadgets do you have? Right? How many gadgets do you have? If you are going to ask me how many gadgets do I have, of course I have my smartphone, I have my laptop, which I use for Zooming with students, and I have my iMac, which I use as a desktop. Why do I need those? Because I need to get connected. I need a gadget that will help me perform the work that I need to do to the best of my ability. Okay? So, technology is something that does not burden our life, but technology is there to help us make our life easier and to simplify it. Okay? It's there to help us. It was actually created in such a way that the objective would be to help people have better lives. But the sad thing is, what's happening in the classroom is something different. Why should students have a limit to the use of technology in the classroom if it's used for learning? Like I think or I heard some people, they do not allow students to use smartphone in their class, okay? Probably because students are very abusive also of that freedom. But in my case, I believe that when a student doesn't know a meaning of the word that I said, or if she wants to translate the word that I said, or if she wants to participate and try to find a word on how to express himself, for me, that's something very useful. I encourage students. You're not smart? Make yourself smart by using your smartphone. Make your smartphone your friend, not a gadget to play with. When I say your friend, if you are struggling to find a word, to compose a sentence, or probably to translate, use your phone because your phone is there to make you smart. But the sad thing is, that's not a reality in most of the classrooms. So, how should learning be? If we are believing that we are living in a digital age, well, I think smartphones should be used in the classroom as a digital tool for learning. Remember what I read, don't quote me. It's a digital tool for learning, not just to play, okay? Now, another issue about learning. Doing projects on something one cares about comes naturally to learners. Doing project on something one cares about comes naturally to learners. It's so hard to do something that you don't like to do. It takes time, it creates a lot of boredom, but when you're asked to do something that you are happy doing it, like you enjoy doing, like for example, in my case, if I'm tired, if I want to distress or remove my stress, I do bake. I know baking takes a lot of sweat because you have to knead, because you have to prepare things. But for me, it's something that I enjoy doing. And I started with zero knowledge. And as I practice, as I keep on doing breads, I become more acquainted with the way I do things, like the kneading, with the timing, and I think my product is getting better. So my point is, when you study, okay, a good way to learn would be to put things in practice, not just, doing the test and doing the test using a paper and a pen, but probably come up with something, come up with a project that you can work with other students and see how can you be creative, how can you collaborate, how can you do something. Again, that there's a problem in the classroom. Why? Because why spend so much time on disconnected questions at the end of the textbook chapter? Some professors would just usually ask the students to answer questions. That's actually a good way to test the knowledge of the students. But of course, aside from testing the knowledge of the students, I would say that also it's good to come up with a project, like a project based learning or a project outcome learning, so that we can see how far we can go in creating something. Okay? So, next, the world is full of engaging real world challenges, problems, and questions. What is the meaning of this? We need not to come up with questions about a concept because already the way we live and the everyday living that we have is full of questions. It's full of challenges there are so many problems that we need to answer, right? So in the point is we have to be practical. The point is, aside from practicality, as we cannot memorize things. Okay, we cannot memorize words. The most important thing for us is to learn how to make things work. How to make things work would be, why not come up with something like a project that will help a student learn probably creativity, or learn collaboration, or learn about herself, like what are her dream jobs, or learn about what's the what's her I would say, what kind of work will fit in that student. So projects can really help students to find themselves, to find their strengths, to learn knowledge, and eventually practice it by acquiring skills. Okay? So innovation and creativity are so important to the future success of our economy. What is innovation? It's the power uh, to redo something, to make it better, to make it more functional. So the idea is from good to something better. That's innovation. And creativity is maybe from nothing, you come up with something. Okay? So they're so important to the future success of our economy. So if you will look here, okay, so this is mind mapping, wherein we try to be creative by actually looking at the how we formulate our thoughts, how we innovate, and how we come up with ideas, and also creativity, how to create. We cannot create if we don't know how to ask questions. We cannot create if we cannot formulate questions. So the idea is, why do schools spend so little time in developing the creativity and innovation skills? What I'm trying to present here from the beginning is actually the way we should learn. And going back, it's advocated here that we should learn by having some teams. We should learn by coming up with a team, by collaborating, and by not competing. We should learn by learning how to use technology as a digital tool for learning. We can learn by doing projects, because doing projects can make us understand about the lesson, can make us understand that chapter, and also because the world is already full of problems, full of challenges, and full of questions. Why not come up with a learning project? A learning project that people can work together, people can solve problems, people can look at issues, because this is how we should learn. We should learn by seeking opinion. We should learn by hearing out others. And the last part is, we need to be innovative and to be creative so that we can be the best asset that the company will have. Okay? Now, what is the reality? The reality is, schools and universities all around the world are moving closer to learning design that students need for the 21st century success. That's why you have this class. That's why in this class, it's very important that we talk about issues not about the world alone, but issues about yourself, how you can develop yourself better, how you can make the best version of you, and how to find the skills that you're supposed to have but not have that yet. Okay? So, academic institutions are innovating learning as their students learn how to innovate. So, how do you innovate? This is the challenge. You have to know how to innovate yourself. Innovate means to change. And changing would mean changing for the better. Okay? Changing for the better. Or changing to be the better version of yourself. So, we have to retune education to sync up learning to the new rhythms of the 21st century. Gone are the days that we should only learn the alphabet, that we should only learn how to count, because other than those skills of counting and of reading, we have to have more skills. Okay? That's why there's a retuning, meaning to say that there's an improvement to the learning of the 21st century. And so, now, let's start and be on the road to innovative learning as we approach the 21st century. So, how learning should be? Learning should be collaboration. Learning should be teamwork. Learning should be answering real life questions. It should use technology. It should come up with project. And it should be something that tunes us to the needs of the 21st century workplace. Okay? So I hope you have time to think about your experience as a learner, your experience as a student. How did you learn? How did you learn? During your elementary days, how is learning done? During your middle school, during your high school, and in the university? Maybe you can come up with 5 to 10 sentences together with pictures to show how did you learn. Okay? So that's a good topic to talk about when we see each other. You can share with us how did you learn, and probably one thing also that you can share with us is how was you before and how are you now. Did you change? Did you improve? Okay, so those are some of the questions that you need to ponder. The other questions that I would like you to answer and to reflect on will be reflected together with the announcement on where you can find this link. So that's all for now. Again, our main topic is how learning should be. What's your idea about this? What's your comment? I would like to hear from you during our online discussion this week. So I'd like to thank you all for listening and for finding time to open this lecture. And I hope I was able to engage you to ask more questions about yourself, about how you can improve better so that you can fit the demands of the 21st century workplace.